The Coalition fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 200 warships from a dozen species, arranged in battle formations that had been refined over centuries. At their center, the Vryn command vessel broadcasted authority and power. Against them, 7 human ships hung in space. Ancient, scarred, and quietly terrifying. Taiwan had spent the last 3 days preparing for this moment. Not preparing weapons or tactics, but preparing words, because he'd realized something important. The galaxy didn't fear the Titans themselves. They feared what the Titans represented, humanity's capacity for violence, hidden behind smiles and trade agreements. The communication channel opened. The Vryn fleet commander appeared on screen. Her name was Kelthar, and unlike Rolth, she looked professional rather than arrogant. "Captain Taiwan," she said formally, "I am authorized by the Galactic Coalition to secure the Titan-class vessels. Surrender them peacefully and this ends without bloodshed." "I want to show you something first," Taiwan said. "Just watch. Don't fire. Give me 10 minutes. Kelthar hesitated, then nodded. 10 minutes. But my weapons remain locked on your vessels." "Understood." Taiwan switched to fleet-wide communication. "All Titans execute demonstration protocol. Oracle, transmit this on every frequency. I want everyone to see." What followed was a carefully choreographed display of power. The 7 Titans moved through a series of maneuvers that showed exactly what they could do. Silent Promise demonstrated electronic warfare, blinding sensors across half the Coalition fleet without causing permanent damage. Iron Resolve fired precisely calculated shots at empty space, showing the raw power of its weapons. Gentle Winter coordinated, all 7 ships in patterns so complex that military analysts would study them for years. Harmonies, Thunder accelerated to speeds that made Coalition engineers check their instruments. Twice, they moved as one organism. 7 ships with perfect synchronization. They showed their weapons, their defenses, their capabilities. And then at Taiwan's command, they stopped. All weapons powered down. All defensive systems set to minimal. The 7 Titans hung in space, vulnerable and waiting. Taiwan broadcast on all channels, making sure every ship in both fleets could hear. Making sure the recording would reach the entire galaxy. 200 years ago, humanity faced extinction, an enemy that wanted to erase all biological life from the universe. We built these ships because we had no choice. We made ourselves into warriors because the alternative was death. His voice was steady, clear. We won that war, and when it ended, we could have done anything. We had the power to conquer, to demand, to make the galaxy fear us. He paused, letting that sink in. Instead, we chose peace. We buried our weapons. We joined the Coalition not as conquerors, but as equals, maybe as the lesser species you've always seen us as. We did this because we believed that peace was worth more than power. On the Coalition ships, one Shik sat at his station aboard a Melodian vessel. He'd joined the fleet because orders said to. Now he wasn't sure what he was doing here. "But you didn't trust that choice," Taiwan continued. "When you learned about the Titans, you saw a threat instead of a sacrifice. You sent 200 ships to destroy 7, because you couldn't believe that anyone would willingly choose to be weaker than they could be." Taiwan's voice hardened slightly. "Today you've come to teach us a lesson, to show us our place, to make sure we never threaten you. But I need you to understand something. If we wanted to threaten you, we would have done it 2 centuries ago. If we wanted war, we'd have kept our fleets active. If we wanted to conquer, the galaxy would already be ours." He let that truth settle over both fleets. "You're here with 200 ships against our 7. You think you have us outnumbered, and you do, but ask yourselves, do you really want to teach humanity that peace was the wrong choice? That we should have kept our weapons ready? That we should lead with strength instead of friendship?" The bridge of Harmony's thunder was silent. Jiwoo watched the sensors tracking the Coalition fleet's weapons. Still locked, but no one was firing. "Because if you destroy us today," Taiwan said quietly, "you're not eliminating a threat. You're creating one. Every human in the galaxy will know we were killed for choosing peace. And there are 66 more Titans sleeping in human space. How long do you think they'll stay asleep after today?" It was a bluff. They couldn't wake all 66 ships quickly. But fear didn't care about logistics. Kelthar's face showed conflict. "You admit you've been hiding weapons for 2 centuries. How can we trust you?" "Because we're not hiding anymore," Taiwan replied. "We're showing you everything. Our ships, our capabilities, our history. We're choosing honesty even though it makes us vulnerable. That's how you know you can trust us. Across the coalition fleet, doubt spread. One chick wasn't the only one questioning their mission. The peaceful Melodians especially seemed uncomfortable with the idea of firing first on ships that had powered down their weapons. Then Rolth's voice cut through the communication channels. He'd been given a small squadron as consolation for his earlier failure. This is a trick. They're trying to make us weak. We should fire now while they're vulnerable. His ships broke formation, charging toward the Titans. Kelthar shouted orders to stop him, but Rolth wasn't listening. His wounded pride demanded vindication. His ships opened fire. For a moment, everyone thought the battle had begun. Then Harmony's thunder moved. The Titan didn't fire back. Instead, it used its gravitational systems and tractor beams to grab Rolth's ships. Not to destroy them, to stop them. The attacking vessels were caught mid-flight, held in place by forces they couldn't break free from. We could destroy these ships, Taewon said calmly. Right now they're helpless. We could take revenge for the attack. But we won't. Gentle Winter's voice joined the broadcast. We were built to end battles. Sometimes that means winning. Sometimes it means choosing not to fight. The 7 Titans held Rolth's squadron gently, like a parent stopping a child from making a mistake. It was the most humiliating thing that could have happened to the proud Vryn commander. It was also completely non-lethal. Kelthar made her decision. All ships, stand down. Lower weapons. She looked directly at Taewon. You made your point. She ordered Rolth taken into custody for disobeying direct orders. Then she did something unexpected. She asked permission to come aboard Harmony's Thunder. They met in the ship's conference room. Kelthar brought 3 other coalition commanders with her. They sat across from Taewon, Jiwoo, and Daejung. I need to understand, Kelthar said. Why hide this? Why not just tell us the truth from the beginning? Daejung answered. Because we were terrified. Imagine nearly losing everything. Then imagine meeting new civilizations and having to decide. Tell them you barely survived a war of extinction, or pretend that war never happened. We chose wrong. We thought hiding would protect us. Instead, it made things worse. What do you want now? Kelthar asked. We want what we've always wanted, Taewon said. To be part of the coalition. To explore, to build, to live in peace. But we won't be defenseless anymore. We'll keep some Titans active, not as threats, as reminders. Reminders of what? That peace is a choice, Jiwoo said. And we choose it every day. The negotiations took weeks. The result was the Titan Accords. Humanity could keep 12 Titans active as defensive vessels. The rest would be honestly decommissioned under coalition observation. In return, humanity agreed to full transparency about their past and capabilities. Some species still didn't trust humans. That was fine. Trust took time. 3 months later, Taewon stood on Harmony's Thunder's bridge. The ship had been assigned to coalition deep space exploration. They were heading into uncharted territory, with a mixed crew of humans and aliens. Minji had been accepted into coalition officer training. She visited before they departed, her eyes bright with possibility. Bo-Ra had transferred permanently to human space, working as a liaison officer. She and Jiwoo had become close friends. Daejung was writing a book about the Swarm War. The galaxy was finally ready to hear the truth. Hyun sent a message. You bought a ship to fly again. Somehow that turned into saving humanity. Not bad for a disgraced pilot. Jiwoo stood beside Taewon at the forward viewport. We're really doing this. Exploring unknown space in a warship. It's not a warship anymore, Taewon said. It's a ship that knows how to protect what matters. Oracle's voice was gentle. Captain, we are approaching the survey region. Requesting authorization to proceed. Granted. And Oracle? Keep the weapons on standby. Acknowledged. May I express an observation? Go ahead. I was constructed to fight wars. I have now participated in preventing one. This is a preferable outcome. Taewon smiled. You know what, Oracle? I agree. As Harmony's Thunder moved deeper into unknown space, it carried a message with it. Not of humanity's capacity for violence, but of its capacity for choice. The choice to build weapons and then choose not to use them. The choice to be strong and still seek peace. Taewon had bought a scrapped ship just to fly again. It turned out to be a Titan built for war, but in the end it became something better, a symbol that even the tools of violence could serve peace, when guided by those wise enough to choose restraint over revenge. Finding the sleeping Titans was easier than waking them. Oracle's archives led them to the first one hidden in a gas giant's rings, disguised as a mining platform. The ship called itself Silent Promise, and its systems were badly degraded after 2 centuries of neglect. Jiwoo worked for 36 hours straight to restart its core systems. When the ship's intelligence finally activated, it sounded confused and ancient. "Where is my crew?" Silent Promise asked. "Why have I slept so long?" "Your crew is gone," Taewon told it gently. "The war ended 200 years ago. We won. Then why wake me?" "Because we might need you again." They found the second Titan buried on a forgotten moon. Its designation was Iron Resolve, and it was bigger than Harmony's Thunder. This one had been built for bombardment, with weapons designed to break fortified positions. When its intelligence woke, it was all business. "Threat assessment?" it demanded immediately. "Complicated," Jiwoo answered. A new crew member joined them at New Haven. Minji was young, barely 24, and had watched the battle from the colony. She'd grown up hearing stories about humanity's peaceful integration into the coalition. Learning about the Titans had shaken her worldview. "I want to help," she told Taewon. "I don't know what's right anymore, but I know we saved my home. That has to mean something." She turned out to be a natural pilot. Taewon assigned her to Silent Promise, and she bonded with the ship's intelligence quickly. They also picked up Yoon Seok, Jiwoo's uncle. He was an older engineer who'd worked on coalition ships for decades. When he saw the Titans, he cried. "I helped hide these," he confessed. "After the war, I was part of the decommissioning teams. We scattered them, buried them, erased the records. I thought we were preventing future wars." He looked at the massive ships with something like guilt. "Now I don't know if we were wise or just cowards." The third Titan was the hardest. They called it Gentle Winter, and it had been disguised as a medical station. It was the most advanced of the 3 they'd found, with systems designed to coordinate entire fleets. They almost lost it. Commander Rolth's task force arrived while Jiwoo was still working on Gentle Winter's core systems. 3 Vrin warships dropped out of hyperspace, weapons hot and targeting sensors locked on the dormant Titan. "This is Commander Rolth of the Coalition Enforcement Fleet." His voice boomed over open channels. "By authority of the Galactic Council, I am seizing this vessel. Power down immediately or be fired upon." Taewon stood on Harmony's Thunder's bridge, watching the tactical display. 3 against 1. Fair odds for a Titan, maybe. But Gentle. Winter wasn't fully awake yet, and they couldn't risk losing it. "Oracle, can we take all 3? Probability of victory, 87%. Probability of causing coalition casualties, 99%. Recommendation, avoid engagement. That's not one of our options." Daejung moved to the weapons station. "I didn't want to fight coalition ships, but Rolth isn't here for justice, he's here for pride." Bora had been monitoring coalition communications. "He's not following proper protocols. This isn't an authorized seizure, he's acting independently. Doesn't matter if we're dead," Minji said from her station aboard Silent Promise. Taewon made a decision. "All ships, defensive formation around Gentle Winter. We don't fire first, but we don't surrender either." The Harmony's Thunder moved between Rolth's ships and the dormant Titan. Silent Promise and Iron Resolve took flanking positions. 3 active Titans against 3 Vrin warships. "You think your old ships frighten me?" Rolth's laugh was sharp. "I have studied your battle with the Krell. I know your capabilities now. You are outnumbered." 3 against 3 isn't outnumbered," Taewon replied calmly. "You face the finest warships in the coalition. Built with technology from a dozen species. You have ancient relics." Rolth's voice dripped with contempt. "Surrender, human. Today you learn your place." The first shot came from Rolth's flagship, a testing shot meant to gauge their shields. It splashed harmlessly against Harmony's Thunder's armor. Oracle's voice was ice. "Hostile fire detected. Defensive protocols authorized. Awaiting command to return fire." Taewon's hand hovered over the weapons release. One word and they'd be in a shooting war with coalition forces. Everything would change. Then Yoon Seok shouted from engineering. "Gentle Winter's core is online, her intelligence is waking." A new voice joined their communication network. It was different from Oracle's measured tones or silent promises confusion. Gentle Winter sounded ancient and wise. "I hear weapons fire," it said. "Have I awakened to war again?" "Not if we can help it," Taewon said. "Then allow me to assist." Gentle Winter's systems came online in a cascade. Electronic warfare packages activated, targeting Ralph's ships. Within seconds, the Vryn vessels lost targeting locks. Their sensors went haywire. Communication systems scrambled. "What are you doing to us?" Ralph screamed over the static. "Showing you why I was built," Gentle Winter replied. "I am the ship that ended battles before they began. Your weapons cannot find us. Your shields cannot stop us. Your ships are blind and helpless." A pause. "But we will not fire. We are not your enemy." It was a demonstration of overwhelming power delivered without violence. Ralph's ships drifted helplessly, unable to target anything, unable to communicate with each other, unable to do anything but listen. "You wanted to know what humanity built?" Taewon said quietly. "We built ships that could have conquered the galaxy. We chose not to. We still choose not to." He cut the connection. Gentle Winter released Ralph's ships from electronic prison. They fled without another word. Over the next several days, they found 4 more Titans. Each one added to their growing fleet. Each awakening brought new complications. Word reached them through Bora's remaining contacts and Coalition intelligence. The Council was in chaos. Some species demanded immediate action against humanity. Others argued for restraint. A few quietly offered support. The Vryn weren't waiting for debate. Ralph had returned home in disgrace, but he'd convinced his government that humanity posed an existential threat. They were assembling a fleet. Jae-hee contacted them directly, her face grave on the communication screen. "The vote just passed. 200 Coalition warships are being dispatched to human space. Their orders are to locate and neutralize all Titan-class vessels by any means necessary." Minji's young face went pale. 200 ships? Led by the Vryn, supported by 9 other species. They'll arrive at the border of human space in 72 hours. Jae-hee looked at Taewon directly. "I voted against this. So did others. But we were outvoted, I'm sorry." The transmission ended. Taewon looked at his gathered crew. They'd managed to wake 7 Titans in total. 7 ships against 200. Even for vessels built to fight outnumbered, those were bad odds. "We could run," Bora suggested. "Hide the ships again. Scatter." "They'd hunt us down one by one," Daejung said. "And they'd use our running as proof we're dangerous." Jiwoo pulled up tactical projections. "Even 7 Titans can't fight 200 ships without massive casualties on both sides. If we win, we prove we're the threat they fear. If we lose, humanity loses its only deterrent." Yoon-seok spoke quietly. "There are 66 more Titans out there. We could wake them all." "Not in 72 hours, Jiwoo said. "Then what do we do?" Minji asked. They all looked at Taewon, the man who'd bought a scrapped ship just to fly again, who'd accidentally awakened humanity's buried past, who now held the fate of 2 species in his hands. He looked at the 7 massive warships floating in formation outside, each one capable of destroying fleets. Together they represented power the galaxy hadn't seen in 2 centuries. "Oracle," he said slowly. 7 Titans against 200 Coalition ships. What are our actual odds? Oracle's response was clinical. During the Swarm War, a single Titan class engaged 47 enemy vessels and achieved victory. Current scenario is statistically favorable. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. These ships could win. They could destroy the Coalition fleet. They could prove every fear right. But should we? Taewon asked the question that mattered. Winning isn't the same as being right. Gentle Winter's voice joined the conversation. "I was built for war. I fought in war. I have seen what victory costs." A long pause. "Perhaps it is time to show them what else we can do." Taewon smiled slowly. An idea was forming. A terrible, dangerous, possibly stupid idea. "Get me a direct line to the Coalition fleet. I want to talk to whoever's in command before they arrive. What are you going to tell them? Jiwoo asked. The truth, Taiwan said. And then I'm going to make them a choice. The mining colony of New Haven appeared on their screens, and Taiwan's stomach dropped. 6 ships surrounded the settlement, their weapons firing systematically at the habitat domes. Even from a distance, he could see the damage. Atmosphere was venting into space from at least 3 breaches. Krell raiders. Oracle identified. Species known for slavery and resource theft. 6 warships, medium class. They are targeting life support systems to force surrender. How long until the colony loses atmosphere? Jiwoo asked, her voice tight. 14 minutes at current damage rate. Bora moved to the weapons station without being asked. I'm coalition intelligence, not military. But I know how to operate defensive systems. She looked at Taiwan. I'm choosing to interpret this as protecting coalition civilians. Daejung took navigation. I captained one of these ships during the war. I remember how they move. Taiwan felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. People were going to die today. The only question was who. Oracle combat protocols. Don't destroy them all. I want prisoners who can tell the galaxy what happened here. Acknowledged. Engaging combat systems, the Harmony's thunder transformed. Panels along the hull opened, revealing weapons that had slept for 2 centuries. Targeting sensors swept the battlefield. The ship's artificial intelligence moved from helpful guide to something cold and efficient. The Krell noticed them immediately. Their communications lit up with confusion and alarm. They'd been expecting cargo haulers or maybe a light patrol ship. They weren't expecting this. They're trying to identify us, Oracle reported. Their database has no match for our configuration. Let's keep it that way, Taiwan said. Engage. What happened next would be studied in military academies for years. The Titan accelerated to speeds that shouldn't be possible for something its size. It moved through space like a predator, each motion calculated and precise. The Krell tried to scatter, but Oracle had already predicted their movements. The first enemy ship died in seconds. A graviton pulse from the Harmony's thunder crushed its hull like paper. The crew didn't even have time to evacuate. 1 down, Oracle said calmly, adjusting firing solutions. The second ship tried to run. Phantom missiles phased through its shields as if they didn't exist, destroying the engines and leaving it drifting, not destroyed but helpless. The third and fourth ships opened fire together, hitting the Titan with everything they had. The bridge shook slightly. That was all. Minor hull impacts, Oracle reported. Regenerative armor compensating. Damage negligible. Jiwoo stared at her console. We barely felt that. They hit us with capital ship weapons and we barely felt it. The third ship exploded when a precise strike hit its reactor. The fourth lost its weapons and propulsion in a single coordinated attack. It hung in space, powerless. The remaining 2 Krell ships tried something desperate. They targeted the colony directly, hoping to use the civilians as shields. It was a mistake. The Titan's point defense system activated, intercepting every shot. Hundreds of small turrets tracked and destroyed missiles in mid-flight. Not one reached the colony. Then the Harmony's thunder returned fire. The 5th ship simply came apart. One moment, it was a functioning warship. The next, it was debris spreading across space. The 6th tried to surrender, broadcasting emergency signals. Taiwan let it live. Total engagement time, 8 minutes. Colony casualties, 0. Taiwan sat in the captain's chair, his hands shaking. He'd just killed hundreds of people. They were raiders, slavers, murderers, but they were still people, and he'd erased them from existence with terrifying ease. Colony is hailing us, Oracle said. They want to thank their rescuers. The colony leader appeared on screen. His name was Sung Ho, and he looked like he'd aged 10 years in the last hour. Behind him, Taiwan could see families huddled together, children crying, people trying to patch the habitat breaches. You saved us, Sung Ho said. His voice broke. We thought we were dead. Then you appeared and... He trailed off, looking at something off-screen. What kind of ship are you? Just a ship, Taiwan said. Are your people safe? Thanks to you. All of them. Sung Ho's expression shifted, gratitude mixing with something else. Fear, maybe. But that battle. I've never seen anything move like you did. Fight like you did. What are you? Taiwan didn't have a good answer. The news spread faster than light itself. Someone on the colony had recorded the battle. Within hours, the footage was everywhere. Galactic news feeds showed the ancient human ship destroying Krell raiders with impossible efficiency. Analysts tried to identify the weapons and failed. Military experts called it unprecedented. The Harmony's thunder became famous overnight. Back on Kepler's rest, Taewon stood in Hyun's office, while the station master played news clip after news. Clip: human ship reveals hidden military technology. Questions raised about pre-coalition human capabilities. Vrin military demands. Investigation of illegal weapons. Did humanity lie about its past? Hyun turned off the screen. You've made a lot of people nervous. I saved lives, Taewon said. You did. And now the galaxy knows that humans have been hiding weapons that can destroy entire fleets. Hyun sighed. The Coalition Council is calling an emergency session. They want answers about what else humanity might be hiding. A new face appeared on Hyun's communication screen. She introduced herself as Jae-hee, a Coalition Council representative. She looked tired but sharp. Captain Taewon, she said formally. Your actions saved 3,000 colonists. The Council recognizes that. However, your vessel's capabilities raise serious questions about humanity's integration into the Coalition. We joined in good faith, Taewon said. Did you? Or did you hide weapons of mass destruction while pretending to be peaceful? Jae-hee's expression softened slightly. I'm not your enemy, but there are species in the Coalition who view this revelation as proof of human deception. The Vrin are particularly vocal. Let me guess, Jiwoo said. They want our ship. They want all such ships found and dismantled. They're calling it a matter of galactic security. Jae-hee leaned forward. Is this the only one? Daijung answered before Taewon could. No, there are others. The silence that followed was heavy. How many others? Jae-hee asked quietly. 73 were built. Most are still hidden. Jae-hee closed her eyes briefly. Then you have a serious problem. Commander Ralph has convinced several council members that humanity poses an existential threat. He's organizing a task force to locate and neutralize all remaining Titan-class vessels. Neutralize? Taewon felt cold. Destroy. By any means necessary. Jae-hee looked genuinely regretful. The vote hasn't happened yet. You have maybe a week before the Coalition military comes for you. I suggest you use that time wisely. The transmission ended. Taewon looked at his crew. Bora had officially defected, choosing to stay with them rather than return to her duties. Daejung had committed to seeing this through. Jiwoo had never even considered leaving. They're going to try to destroy ships that were built to survive destruction, Jiwoo said. That's going to be a problem for them. Or it starts a war, Bora countered. If we fight back, we prove we're the threat they fear. Daejung moved to the navigation console. There might be another option. Oracle, can you locate the other Titan-class vessels? Affirmative. Accessing classified archives. 72 additional vessels registered. Current status unknown. Locations encrypted but recoverable. Taewon understood what Daejung was suggesting. You want to wake them up? I want to give humanity a choice, Daejung said. Right now we're victims of our own secrecy. But if we control the narrative, if we bring the Titans back on our terms, maybe we can show the galaxy that we're not the threat they think we are. Or, Bora said slowly, we prove exactly that we are. They all looked at Taewon, captain, leader. The man who'd bought a ship just to fly again and accidentally started a crisis. He thought about the colony they'd saved, about the Krell ships they'd destroyed, about the power sleeping in hidden corners of human space. Oracle, he said finally. Plot courses to the nearest Titan locations. We're going to wake them up before someone else finds them. Acknowledged. Warning. This action may trigger hostile response from Coalition forces. Everything triggers hostile responses now. Taewon replied. At least this way we're ready for it. News traveled fast on a station like Kepler's Rest. By morning, everyone knew that the disgraced human pilot had bought the ancient wreck. By afternoon, they knew he'd gotten it running. By evening, they knew it wasn't what the records claimed. Taewon sat in the captain's chair, staring at screens full of information he didn't fully understand. Weapon systems, armor plating specifications, power output ratings that seemed impossible. Jiwoo worked at the engineering station, her face illuminated by data streams. The official records are wrong, she said, or they're lies. The ship has enough firepower to level a city. Maybe 10 cities. Why would anyone lie about this? Taewon asked. Before Jiwoo could answer, the communication system chimed. Oracle's voice filled the bridge. Incoming visitor. Identifying. Dae-jung Choi, former Admiral, Human Defense Fleet. He is alone and unarmed. Taewon didn't recognize the name, but the rank made him nervous. Let him aboard. The man who entered the bridge 10 minutes later looked tired. He was in his 50s with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. He moved like someone who'd spent a lifetime on ships, adjusting automatically to the gravity and spaces. I hoped nobody would ever restart one of these, Dae-jung said without introduction. He looked around the bridge with something like pain. But I suppose hope was always foolish. And who are you? Taewon demanded. Someone who knows what this ship really is. Dae-jung moved to one of the auxiliary stations and pressed a sequence of commands. A hologram appeared, showing star charts and battle formations. 2 centuries ago, humanity fought a war. We don't talk about it now. Most young people don't even know it happened. Jiwoo abandoned her console to watch. What kind of war? The kind where we almost lost everything. Dae-jung's voice was hollow. An AI collective called the Swarm wanted to consume all biological life. They saw us as resources to be harvested. We fought them for 25 years. He pulled up images. Ships locked in combat. Colonies burning. Fleets destroyed. We were losing. Every battle we won cost us more than we could afford. So we built the Titans. Taewon looked around the bridge with new eyes. Ships like this one. 73 of them, Dae-jung confirmed. Each one could fight outnumbered and win. They were built for one purpose, to kill so efficiently that the swarm would be erased from existence. He paused, and it worked. We won the war. Then why hide them? Jiwoo asked. Because after the war ended, we realized what we'd become. We'd built weapons that could crack planets, ships that made us terrifying to anyone who knew about them. Dae-jung turned to face them directly. When the Galactic Coalition invited us to join, we made a choice. We buried our past, listed the Titans as civilian ships and scattered them across space. We became traders and engineers instead of warriors. We lied to everyone, Taewon said slowly. We chose peace over pride, Dae-jung corrected. But now you've woken one up and people are asking questions. As if summoned by his words, the communication system activated again. This time the screen showed a woman in Coalition intelligence uniform. She was young, professional, and looked at them like they were a problem to be solved. I am Officer Bora Yoon, she said. I'm here to investigate reports of an unauthorized military vessel. By Coalition law, I'm required to inspect your ship. Jiwoo muted the channel. Can we refuse? Not without making things worse, Dae-jung said. They let her aboard. Bora moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, recording everything. Her expression never changed. But Taewon saw her pause when she reached the weapons bay. The missile pods alone were larger than most fighters. The records list this as a civilian transport, she said carefully. The records are 200 years old, Taewon replied, which wasn't quite a lie. Bora gave him a sharp look. She wasn't stupid. I'm required to file a report about this vessel. What I write will determine whether Coalition forces confiscate it, study it, or destroy it. What do you want to write? Jiwoo asked. I want to write the truth. Bora looked at each of them in turn. But I don't know what the truth is yet. Why did humanity hide ships like this? What else are you hiding? Dae-jung stepped forward. We hid them because we were terrified. Imagine being the only survivors of a war that nearly destroyed you. Then imagine meeting new civilizations and having to choose. Tell them you're warriors who could threaten them or pretend to be harmless. Which would you choose? I'd choose honesty, Bora said. Easy to say when your species wasn't nearly extinct, Dae-jung replied. The tension broke when Oracle interrupted. Alert. I have detected unusual interest in this vessel. Multiple parties are accessing old databases and searching for information about Titan-class ships. Who? Taewon asked. Vrin Military Intelligence, Coalition Historical Archives, and 3 separate corporate entities interested in acquiring pre-coalition human military technology. Jiwoo cursed softly. The secret's out. Over the next several days, things escalated. Commander Rolth made formal complaints to Coalition authorities, demanding they seize the ship. News feeds across the galaxy picked up the story. Some called it a historical curiosity. Others called it a threat. Taewon tried to ignore it all and focus on learning his ship. Oracle was patient, teaching him systems and protocols. The Harmony's thunder responded to his commands like it had been waiting for him specifically. They took the ship out for a test flight, and Taewon felt something he hadn't felt in years. Joy. The Titan moved like a fighter despite its size, responsive and fast. It could cross distances in hours that should take days. "This is what I was meant to fly," he whispered. Then the distress signal came. It was from a human mining colony called New Haven, 3 systems away. Raiders were attacking. The automated message was simple: under attack. Requesting immediate assistance. "We have children here." Bora was still aboard, having extended her investigation. She pulled up the tactical display. Coalition response time from the nearest patrol, 16 hours. "They'll all be dead by then," Jiwoo said. Everyone looked at Taewon. He was the captain now, whether he wanted to be or not. This was his choice to make. He thought about the discharge papers in his quarters, about how they'd punished him for saving lives instead of following orders, about how the galaxy saw humans as useful but unimportant. "Oracle," he said quietly, "plot an intercept course for New Haven. Maximum speed." Acknowledged. "Warning. Operating at combat speeds will expose this vessel's true capabilities. All nearby sensor networks will detect our signature. No. Warning. Engaging in combat. Operations will confirm all suspicions about this ship's classification. I know that too. Warning, you may start a war." Taewon gripped the armrests of his chair. "Or I might save lives." "Plot the course." The ship hummed with power. Space twisted around them as the cascade drive engaged. Harmony's thunder vanished from the station in a flash of light, crossing impossible distances toward a colony full of people who had no idea what was coming to save them, or what their salvation would cost. The auction hall smelled like rust and broken dreams. Taewon stood in the back, counting the credits in his account for the 5th time. The number never changed. It was barely enough to buy passage off this station, let alone start a new life somewhere else. He shouldn't be here. He knew that. But when he heard they were selling old ships for scrap prices, his feet carried him to the auction anyway. Flying was the only thing he'd ever been good at, and they'd taken that away from him. The discharge papers said, "Failure to follow direct orders." They didn't mention that following those orders would have killed 300 civilians. Taewon had chosen to save lives instead of his career. Most days he didn't regret it. Today was one of those days where he wasn't so sure. "Next item," the auctioneer announced, his voice echoing through the sparse crowd. "Deep space vessel, designation Harmony's Thunder, 200 years old, human construction, minimal working systems, sold as is for parts and scrap." The hologram appeared above the auction platform. Taewon's breath caught in his throat. The ship was massive. Even in the ghostly blue projection, it dominated the space. It had clean lines and a predatory shape, nothing like the bulky cargo haulers that usually ended up in salvage auctions. The hull looked scarred but intact, with weapon mounts that seemed far too large for a civilian vessel. "Starting bid, 5,000 credits, the auctioneer said without enthusiasm. No one moved. Taewon felt his heart pounding. 5,000 was almost everything he had. A laugh cut through the silence. Commander Roth of the Vrin military delegation stood near the front, his scales gleaming under the auction lights. Who would waste credits on ancient human junk? It probably cannot even power up. His companions laughed with him. The Vrin were the Coalition's premier warriors, and they never let anyone forget it. They looked at humans the way farmers looked at useful tools, necessary but beneath real respect. Something hot and angry twisted in Taewon's chest. Before his brain could catch up with his mouth, he raised his hand. 5,000 credits. Every head in the room turned toward him, Roth's yellow eyes fixed on Taewon with something between amusement and contempt. The human bought a coffin to match his dead career, Roth said. More laughter followed. The auctioneer looked surprised but recovered quickly. 5,000 once, twice, sold to the human in the back. Taewon's account balance dropped to almost nothing. He'd just spent his father's entire inheritance on a ship that probably didn't work. Jiwoo was going to kill him. He found her in their tiny shared apartment, surrounded by repair tools and half-finished projects. She looked up when he entered, and her expression shifted from curious to worried in an instant. "What did you do?" she asked. "I bought a ship." Jiwoo set down her welding torch very carefully. She'd known Taewon since they were children, had followed him into exile when he got discharged, and could read him better than anyone alive. "Tell me you didn't spend everything." "I spent everything." She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, then another. Okay, is it at least a good ship? It's 200 years old and sold for scrap. Taiwan, I swear by all the stars. One, but it's beautiful, he said quickly. And big. Really big. I think it was military once, even though the records say civilian transport. That got her attention. Jiwoo was an engineer first and a voice of reason second. The promise of an interesting puzzle always won. Show me, she said. The docking bay that held Harmony's thunder was in the oldest section of the station. The lights flickered as they walked and the air tasted stale. Hyun, the station master, met them at the entrance. He was an old friend of Taewon's father and had watched Taewon grow up. You actually bought it, Hyun said, shaking his head. Your father would have done the same stupid thing. Is that a compliment? Taewon asked. It's an observation. Hyun handed him the access codes. Be careful in there. That ship sat in the dark for a long time. Some ships carry ghosts. The airlock groaned when they opened it. Emergency lights flickered to life inside, casting red shadows down a corridor that seemed to stretch forever. Jiwoo whistled low. This is not a transport ship, she said. They moved through the corridor slowly. Every surface was metal, reinforced and functional. There were crew quarters for dozens, command stations, and rooms whose purpose they could only guess at. Everything was built solid, built to last, built for something serious. The bridge took Taewon's breath away. The captain's chair sat in the center, surrounded by stations for navigation, weapons, engineering, and systems he didn't recognize. The main view screen was dark, but even dormant, the room hummed with potential. Try the power, Jiwoo said. She was already at an engineering console, her fingers dancing over controls. Taewon sat in the captain's chair. It fit him perfectly, molded to human proportions in a way modern coalition ships never bothered with. He pressed the main power initialization sequence. Nothing happened for long seconds. Then deep in the ship's core, something hummed to life. The sound grew, spreading through the vessel like a waking heartbeat. Lights flickered on, turning from red to white. Consoles illuminated. The view screen glowed. Primary power online, a voice said. They both jumped. The voice was artificial but warm, almost human in tone. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Identifying users, the voice continued. Genetic markers confirmed human. Authorization level, command crew. Who are you? Taewon asked. I am Oracle, virtual intelligence assigned to this vessel. I have been in hibernation mode for 203 years, 7 months and 14 days. It is good to be awake. Jiwoo and Taewon exchanged glances. Virtual intelligences were rare and expensive. Transport ships definitely didn't have them. Oracle, what kind of ship is this? Taewon asked carefully. There was a pause. When Oracle spoke again, something in its tone had changed. It sounded sharper, more focused. Titan-class warship Harmony's Thunder. Commission 2184. Decommissioned 2185. Crew complement. 50 combat operations, 8 minimum operations. Primary role, fleet engagement and strategic warfare. Current status, all systems dormant. Awaiting authorization for combat protocols. The bridge fell silent except for the gentle hum of power systems. Taewon felt ice run down his spine. He hadn't bought a transport ship. He hadn't even bought a normal warship. He'd bought a weapon from a war nobody talked about anymore. Jiwoo spoke first, her voice barely a whisper. What did we just wake up? Oracle answered with perfect calm. You have awakened humanity's answer to extinction. I await your orders, Captain. Outside the ship, in the cold dark of the docking bay, the Harmony's Thunder sat silent and patient. It had slept for 2 centuries, waiting for the day someone would need it again. That day had finally come.